Every week, somebody asks me the same question: which Super Duty should I buy? And almost everyone starts the exact same way. I need a diesel. That's usually where the trouble starts, before they've even looked at a truck. I'm RJ, 20 years working on Fords. Today I'm walking you through the major Super Duty engines that actually matter on the used market. The ones that'll quietly drain your bank account before you even realize you bought the wrong truck, and the ones I'd actually spend my own money on. Some of what I tell you is going to contradict what you assumed walking in. Start with the engine that built the reputation everyone still argues about. The 6.0 PowerStroke, 2003 through 2007. This isn't a story about one bad part failing. It's a story about a chain reaction. And once you understand the chain, you understand why this engine is so hard to defend, no matter how much you want to like the idea of a cheap used diesel Super Duty. It starts with the oil cooler. On this engine, it sits in a spot where it slowly clogs with contaminants over time, and that restriction cuts down the coolant flow, reaching the EGR cooler right behind it. Less flow means the EGR cooler runs hotter than it was ever designed to. Run it hot long enough, and it cracks. And once it cracks, you're looking at coolant loss, white smoke, and in a bad case, coolant actually making its way into a cylinder. Separately from that, these engines are also known for head gasket trouble on their own, when cylinder pressure gets higher than the factory clamping system was built to hold. The factory torque to yield head bolts don't leave much margin once that happens, and once they stretch, the head gasket goes with them. Two different failure paths, and either one can put a 6.0 on a hook behind a tow truck. What most owners call a head gasket problem often actually started as a restriction in a cooler nobody ever thinks to check. I've had these trucks come in where the owner swears that the engine just failed out of nowhere. It didn't. It failed exactly the way it was designed to fail. Slowly, quietly. One link in that chain at a time for months or years before the day it finally announces itself with white smoke and a coolant light. By the time that light comes on, the chain's already run most of its course. And even if you solve that entire chain, there's still half a dozen other expensive systems waiting their turn. The FICM that runs the injectors likes to fail on its own schedule. No warning. Just a hard start one morning that turns into no start the next. The high-pressure oil pump can starve for clean oil and then take the fuel injection system down with it, because this engine fires its injectors using oil pressure instead of a conventional fuel rail. Which sounds clever right up until that oil pressure system develops a problem of its own. Injectors themselves stick from carbon buildup, causing a rough idle or a miss that looks electrical right up until you find the real cause. The turbo's variable geometry mechanism gums up with soot and stops moving the way it should, robbing power and setting codes that point everywhere except where the actual problem is. If you're looking at a 6.0, the questions that actually matter are simple. Has the oil cooler and EGR cooler already been replaced with upgraded parts? Have the head bolts already been swapped for studs? If the answer to both is no, you're not buying a truck. You're buying the beginning of that chain reaction, and you're just waiting to find out how far along it already is. The 6.0 earned its reputation, not from one bad part, from a chain of them, each one waiting on the last. Ford knew the 6.0 was a problem, and in 2008 they replaced it with the 6.4 PowerStroke, trying to fix exactly what I just described. And they did fix some of it. The oil cooler and EGR cooler cascade that defined the 6.0 isn't the headline story here. What they built instead came with its own set of expensive habits. Different symptoms, same result on your wallet. I've seen enough cracked pistons on 6.4s to take the reputation seriously, especially in trucks that tow heavy or spend a lot of time in regeneration cycles. Speaking of which, this was Ford's first PowerStroke with a diesel particulate filter, and every active regeneration event adds fuel and exhaust heat to the engine, whether the truck happens to be working hard at that moment or not. That heat and constant regen cycling leads to fuel finding its way into the oil, diluting it faster than a normal oil change interval accounts for. An owner following the sticker on the door is often running oil that's already been chemically thinned out by the time that sticker says it's due. Radiators on this engine develop cracks at the plastic end tanks, a slow leak that's easy to miss until the day it isn't. The twin turbo setup, genuinely clever for its time and part of why this engine made real power, develops leaks at the up pipes that connect them to the exhaust, and a cracked up pipe robs boost and dumps soot right where you'd notice it if you knew where to look, on the firewall and up under the hood. I had one owner bring his 2009 in, convinced the transmission was slipping under load. It wasn't the transmission, it was a cracked up pipe robbing enough boost that the engine felt weak exactly where a driver would blame the gearbox instead of the exhaust plumbing. By this point, Ford had built 2 diesel engines in a row that could empty your savings account faster than they could empty a fuel tank. And that's about the point where a lot of owners stopped believing the next diesel would be any different. This engine only lasted 3 model years before Ford scrapped the whole approach and started over in-house. That alone tells you most of what you need to know. When a manufacturer walks away from its own engineering after 3 years instead of refining it, that's not a coincidence. That's a company admitting the fix didn't work. If you're looking at a 6.4, check for the oil dilution with a real test, not a dipstick guess, since fuel-thinned oil doesn't always look or smell different at a glance. Ask about the radiator and up pipes specifically. Those 3 items alone will tell you whether you're looking at a truck that's been maintained ahead of its problems or one that's about to introduce you to all of them at once. 2011 brought the 6.7 Power Stroke, the first Power Stroke Ford designed and built for itself instead of sourcing the engine from Navistar, the way the 6.0 and 6.4 had been. Everybody assumed Ford had finally fixed it. After those 2 engines, the whole industry was watching to see if Ford could actually build a diesel in-house that didn't come with its own list of expensive habits. And for the first time in this whole story, I almost agreed with them. This engine dropped the cascading design flaws entirely. No oil cooler restricting flow to an EGR cooler waiting to crack. No pistons cracking under boost. A genuinely clean sheet design. Until you get into the early builds, specifically 2011 through 2014. The earliest turbo setup, especially on 2011 and 2012 trucks, earned a reputation for premature bearing failures. The high-pressure fuel pump on this engine, the same Bosch design used across the whole lineup for over a decade, is extremely sensitive to contaminated or poor quality fuel. And that risk didn't disappear when Ford updated the engine later. It's just part of owning this pump on any year. If it does fail, it can send metal debris through the rest of the fuel system on its way out. A cold side charge pipe made of plastic is known to crack under boost, a cheap part that can strand a truck if it lets go on the highway. Here's what makes this different from the first 2 engines. An enormous number of these trucks are still on the road working every day with none of these problems, because plenty of them never got neglected long enough to develop them. I've got customers running 2012 and 2013 trucks well past 150,000 miles who've never had a single issue on this list. This isn't a walkaway. This is a buy only if you actually know what you're looking at. Ask for fuel filter history. Ask if the turbo's ever been touched. A well-documented early 6.7 is a completely different truck than one nobody's paid attention to. Now here's where this video changes direction, because the next engine I want to talk about isn't a diesel at all. The 6.2 Boss, the gas V8 Ford put in Super Duty trucks from 2011 through 2022, before Ford replaced it with a different gas V8. Nobody asks me about this engine. Almost nobody talks about it online. And the more I've looked into how these actually hold up, the more I think that's a mistake, because the silence around this engine isn't a red flag. It's the opposite. This engine doesn't have a legendary reputation, because it's never given anyone a reason to talk about it. No cascading failure, no engine that got scrapped after 3 years, no fuel pump that can send metal through the whole system. What you get instead are exhaust manifold studs that occasionally work loose, an early misfire code that can be a pain to chase down because It doesn't always leave the data a scan tool wants to see, and every so often a valve, spring, or coil pack. Normal wear items on a normal engine, the kind any shop can handle without special training or specialty parts. I've talked to guys running fleets of these in construction and utility work, with well past 200,000 miles on them, and nothing more dramatic than routine maintenance to show for it. One guy told me flat out, his 6.2s just don't come up in conversation at the shop because there's nothing to talk about. A county I know runs a whole yard of these on plow trucks, sitting and idling for hours in the worst weather of the year, and their biggest complaint after a decade of that abuse was a batch of coil packs. Nobody brags about owning a 6.2, they just keep driving them. If you don't actually need diesel torque for what you're towing, this is the engine most buyers overlook on their way to something more expensive and more complicated, and most of them never had a reason to. This is usually the point where I hear the same thing from owners. I wish somebody had told me this before I bought. That's exactly why we put together the Ford Longevity Checklist, free at FordScope.com. The same questions I'd ask about any Super Duty before you hand anyone your money, gas or diesel. If you've been around this channel a while, you already know what I think about the 7.3 Godzilla. We've spent enough time with this engine that it doesn't surprise me anymore. It's a simple, pushrod gas V8 that's earned a genuinely good reputation since it arrived in 2020. Built to outlast the truck around it in the way the best gas engines always have. Part of why I trust it is what it doesn't have. No turbo spinning at 100,000 RPM after a hard pull. No emissions plumbing, trying to cool exhaust gas and route it back through the intake. No high-pressure fuel system that can turn a $500 part into a fuel system replacement. It's the biggest naturally aspirated gas V8 Ford puts in a Super Duty. And there's something almost old-fashioned about how little it asks of you in return for how much work it'll do. Simplicity has become a luxury in modern trucks. Is it perfect? No engine is. There's one known idle-related wear pattern worth checking on a used one, and we've covered exactly what that looks like and what it costs in detail somewhere on this channel, so I won't repeat all of it here. Compared to everything that came before it on this list, it's one of the easiest Super Duty engines I can recommend, gas or diesel. Ford agrees with me more than they used to. For a few years, they sold a smaller gas V8 alongside the 7.3, badged the 6.8. As of the newest model year, that engine's gone, and the 7.3 is the only gas V8 left in the lineup. Standard equipment on every Super Duty that isn't running a diesel. Ford's own words when they made that call were that it's their most powerful and most popular gas engine. I wouldn't argue with either half of that sentence. The second generation 6.7 arrived for 2015, and this is where the engine becomes much easier for me to recommend if I'm shopping used. Ford revised the turbo and moved to a higher capacity fuel pump with years of real-world data from early trucks behind those changes. The same fuel pump contamination risk we talked about never fully went away. That's worth knowing regardless of which year you're looking at. But 2015 through 2019 is a meaningfully more mature engine than the one that started this whole lineup in 2011. Ford made another major round of changes for 2020. More power, a new fuel injection system, a decade of lessons built in from the ground up. If I'm spending newer truck money instead of shopping used, that's the version I'd want. I've got a customer who traded a 2013 for a 2021 specifically because he was tired of chasing fuel pump anxiety every time he crossed state lines for fuel he wasn't sure about. 3 years in, he still hasn't had a reason to think about it. Before you buy any Super Duty, gas or diesel, 3 things tell you almost everything. Ask for service records, specifically around oil changes and, if it's a diesel, fuel filter changes. An owner who can't answer that question hasn't been paying attention to the truck, and neither has whoever serviced it last. And that tells you more about the truck's future than its past. Cold start it yourself, first thing, before anyone's had a chance to warm it up for you. Any diesel that rattles unusually hard, misses, or struggles on a true cold start is telling you something worth diagnosing before you hand over money. Whether that turns out to be injectors, the fuel system, or something else entirely. Don't let a seller explain it away as just a diesel. And ask directly whether any of the known fixes for that specific engine and year have already been done. A seller who knows the answer is usually taking care of the truck. A seller who doesn't usually hasn't, and that gap in knowledge is often the same gap in maintenance. None of this takes more than 20 minutes at the curb. It's the cheapest insurance you'll ever buy on a truck this expensive. So here's how I'd actually sort this. Want the lowest ownership stress you can find on a used Super Duty? The 6.2. Towing heavy every single week? Real weight up real grades? The modern 6.7. Buying newer and planning to keep it for 15 to 20 years? The 7.3. And if you called me tomorrow and asked me to recommend one engine to the average Super Duty owner, I'd still tell you to buy the 7.3 Godzilla. 20 years ago, buying the diesel was the obvious answer, and everybody knew it. Today, it isn't, and most buyers still haven't caught up to that yet. If this video helped you keep a little more money in your pocket and you'd like to support the channel, hit the join button below. I'll see you in the next one.